I'm Puja Mahajan. I'm born in Canada and based in Switzerland currently. By trade, I'm a mechanical aerospace engineer, but also environmental engineer. And during my studies, I did internships with the Department of National Defense in Canada, as well as with Ballard Power Systems, studying alternative fuels for transportation systems. So this was my first love, to be honest. But after graduating, I started a path in private aviation, working in different capacities throughout my career, and predominantly in aircraft operations and management. I was an executive overseeing several fleets of private jets for many, many years, over 25. And I loved every minute of it until we started in 2016 measuring emissions in Europe. And when we started doing this, I hit a wall with my business partner. We realized, wow, aircraft actually do have quite significant emissions. And not only that, there's really no tools to help us manage those emissions. And through the process of this being part of this EU ETS environmental trade scheme, emissions trading scheme, we had to learn a lot, how to measure our emissions, how to submit reports, how to manage our emissions, how to mitigate. There's so many things that we had to learn. And I realized that, this learning curve we went through, it was quite painful, that other operators were going through the same in Europe, but the rest of the world, it was coming. And so from this was born the idea of developing Azzera. And Azzera means to reset to zero, in Italian, azzerare. And we decided to build a company and a platform that supports businesses to measure their emissions, do compliance reporting if necessary, and mitigate those emissions. So turn their emissions into action in one platform. And we're starting with aviation. Aviation has a climate problem. We know this. And aircraft owners and operators must act immediately to start managing their emissions for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, they're under compliance issues. So there are programs called EU ETS and CORSIA, which require operators to measure their emissions and file reports. And if they have exceeded a certain threshold, they have to offset their emissions or pay for allowances. So these are things that are happening right now and subsequently are about to happen and affect the vast majority of aircraft operators and owners throughout the world. Of course, there's a lot of pressure in the marketplace, stakeholder pressure, owners, operators, and the marketplace. Flight shaming is a thing. And this is definitely not going on deaf ears. But as I mentioned earlier, there is this extreme lack of tools and knowledge in order to manage emissions. So Azzera was developed to answer these questions, to create a solution for all three of those problems in one. We connect with the flight operators software that has data about the flights. And that data through API integration is provided to our platform, where we can create a user profile that shows the emissions by flight for the operator. Those emissions can be transformed into a compliance report, depending on the scheme that they're under, whether it's CORSIA, EU ETS, or any other scheme that can be compiled for the scheme that is required. And they have a visual dashboard of how they're doing on each of those compliance schemes. And they can then access the trading marketplace, which allows them to acquire what they need to acquire in terms of carbon credits to offset their emissions, or Sustainable Aviation Fuel credits, certificates to reduce their emissions, so they can mitigate their emissions directly into the platform. So this is just, again, it's compliance. We're creating transparency. All the transactions on that platform are recorded on a blockchain-based ledger. We don't use blockchain because it's fancy. We use it, or it's trendy. We use it because it actually makes sense from a public accountability and allowing and avoiding double accounting on the transactions. We also, in creating this tool, we are reducing the workload for the operator who is not equipped to do all of this. In terms of the market, we believe that if we look at trade volume of carbon credits, the emissions from aviation and shipping represent about 4% of the world's emissions, and that equates to about $5 billion, $4.9 billion in today's terms. And we believe Azzera can capture about 15% of the aviation and shipping emissions market, and our obtainable market is about 740 million. What we know is that the aviation market, this is a constant, has a CAGR of 4%. So there's increasing potential just on aviation alone. Our marketplace is a one-stop shop. I've mentioned this earlier. It's the only marketplace, it's the only platform, B2B SaaS, that does a combined work of addressing the compliance needs of the sector, measuring emissions and creating reports, as well as accessing the trading platform for carbon credits. So there's a trading platform. All three are done in one platform. It's a one-stop shop, and we are unique in the marketplace. We've created a wonderful team that have brought us to where we are today. It comprises of a PhD who is in carbon cycle modeling. He's our chief science officer. We have a senior carbon market analyst, Anand, who is helping us develop our carbon market access, as well as our CTO has over 25 years in software engineering. These are some of the highlights. We also have an environmental engineer who's helping us with the development of the carbon accounting schemes. We have a fantastic team split between Montreal and Zurich. And as I said, my partner and I both have over 25 years experience in building companies and managing teams, but specifically with our lead market, aviation. So with this incredible team, we've also achieved some wonderful success. In terms of partnerships and awards, we were selected as part of the climate fintech of, it's now called Tenity. It was previously called F10. And we were in amongst 8 startups that were chosen. We are just finishing that journey. We were also selected by Tenity to then pitch in Singapore at the Singapore FinTech Festival. And we partnered with InnovaBot in Canada to help us with the development of our MVP. And just most recently, we won a Startup Innovation Award in Davos at an event during the World Economic Forum. We've had some incredible traction pre-platform through brokerage and trade based on advisory. And we've done about 350,000 US on that. And these clients will be transferred to our platform once it's live. And we have secured and developed access to over 12 million tons of carbon credits that have been third-party validated. From a monetization perspective, we have 2 models. The first one is this advisory and brokerage, where we have transaction fees. And when the platform is released, which we call the exchange, we would have, again, transaction fees and a subscription fee model. And both would run in parallel in the future. Our plan is to really scale up rapidly. We plan to get to 5,000 customers by 2027. And we plan to reach about 25 million in EBIT by then. And our platform is scheduled at the end of this quarter to release its first MVP alpha and be ready for testing with clients. And our goal is to scale up this model, not just by limiting ourselves to aviation, but expanding to other sectors by connecting with via API with other greenhouse gas accounting platforms. So whether it's shipping or whether it's any other business that has online digital GHG accounting, we can connect them and they can access our trading platform. Our goal also is on the supply end to build a digital registry that will allow for the accelerated production of carbon credits. And finally, we're asking for we're doing a raise of $1 million to extend our runway in support our market entry and scale up.